This is Checkpoint, where important matters of national interest are fact-checked through the officials that we feature. On the program today, we discuss illegal land allocation in Zambia. And obviously, you do agree with us when we say that this is a problem that has persisted. What is being done to ensure that this problem is dealt with once and for all? My name is Samuel Machishi. Thank you for joining us on Checkpoint. In studio to help us discuss this very important topic, I have Crispin Chaibwa, who is Director Lands from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Good to see you, sir.
Nice being here.
Also being part of the program is Mary Mulenga Harawa, proprietor, Palm Ridge Properties. Good to see you, madam.
Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Last but not the least, we have Mr. Patrick Musole, coming from the Zambia Land Alliance. He is Executive Director there. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a general topic. When we say that the problem of land allocation is there in the country, we would like to get it through the eyes of the people that preside over such matters. And it's a pleasure to have the Ministry of Lands represented by you, Director. When we say we have a problem of illegal land allocation, how real is this problem?
Well, the problem of illegal land allocation is real. And I want to believe ourselves on the panel and even members of the public, general citizenry, in one way or the other, they have been swindled by people who claim to have land. We have seen on the media, in various media platforms, how people without authority have invaded land, start allocating, and even selling. So really the problem is real. We face it as a country and as a ministry.
What's the proper way if someone was to avoid the illegality?
The proper way is to follow the established channels of acquisition of land. The Minister of Lands, his mandate is land allocation. And the Minister of Lands can allocate land to anyone who qualifies to own land in the country. And I want to say this, that they also have agents. In particular reference, I want to refer to the councils or the local authorities in the various districts in the country. They are agents of the Commission of Lands on matters of land allocation. So all those that seek to get land, they would get them either through the ministry or the agents of the Ministry of Lands.
Mrs. Arawa, you are into the real estate business.
Yes, please.
How often do you get complaints, or how smooth is this process of getting one land that is properly acquired?
Well, it is not as easy as it ought to be to get land that is clean. Reasons being that, number one, especially in Lusaka, there's a scarcity of land, especially near the CBD. So people are looking for places where they would build a house, stay there, and be able to go to the offices. But then to find that land, you find that most of it has been allocated already, maybe by the Ministry of Lands. It was already owned by someone. And so it is such lands that fraudsters take advantage of. So to get land, yes, the complaints that people would give is that, one, people don't understand the processes Ministry of Lands has to allocate land. Number two, the bureaucracy, the length of time that it takes for them to get, so they prefer to buy. So anytime someone comes and tells you, oh, I have this piece of land I'm going to sell you, it looks very interesting. It looks like something you should go for. So that has been one of the challenges. I think it's not been as easy. But then when you get to understand, or when you're assisted by a qualified person like a lawyer, I think it becomes much easier.
The bureaucracy, I don't know whether it's the perception or it's how it is. Others would prefer to go the straight way if there's a mediator. In this case, her business would be like that mediator. If they came to the ministry, is that bureaucracy for real? And it may hinder people from going the straight way. I'm banking Mr. Msole for now, just for a little bit.
Okay. Well, bureaucracy, you can argue there are certain individuals who want things to be processed without us vetting. Of course, the ministry has a process of vetting. Any application that comes, as you may be aware, the Act prescribes who can own land in the country. We do receive applications even through the council, which when we vet them, such recommendations are rejected because probably the property has been offered to a foreigner who does not qualify, or indeed to a company that does not qualify to own land. So the bureaucracy can be there only to the extent that we need to verify, vet documents, and ensure that we give land or alienate land to only those that qualify to own land in the country.
It's going to turn out to be a good conversation from what I'm getting. Let's bring in the Zambia Land Alliance Executive Director. Maybe help us understand what you do and how you find yourself in trying to mitigate on some of the challenges we face in this topic.
Thank you so much. At Zambia Land Alliance, we do sensitize people about their rights to land. We believe that land rights are a birthright. As long as one is a Zambian, you have the right to own a piece of land. And so we do sensitization. Of course, for a long time, Zambians did not know about their land rights and didn't appreciate until we've seen a lot of people coming from outside the country and taking up a lot of land. That's when Zambians' eyes have opened up, and they are also struggling now, trying to catch up and acquire some land. So we do sensitize. But we also do sensitize people about the right way to acquire land. As has already been said by my colleagues, there is the right and the wrong way of acquiring land. And so some people would want to take shortcuts and acquire land very quickly without following the due process. And in the end, they'll end up losing that land or get themselves into complications. So we do sensitize people about the right way to acquire land.
Not knowing how far you've gone in sensitizations, because if it were wide, the problem could have ended.
Well, it's not that easy, but I would like to agree with you that our reach is limited because the country has 116 districts, and we are only present in about 15 districts, which is a very small, very narrow reach. But we try to reach out through programs like this one, through radio programs, through other platforms that we have, and especially we focus more in our project areas. And so our reach is limited, and that's how come we choose to collaborate with the Ministry of Lands, we choose to collaborate with other stakeholders so that we can extend our reach.
From my understanding, we have two types of lands, and unless I'm not educated on the other parts. We have state land,
Yes.
vested in the powers of the president. And then we have traditional land, which still, the other broader aspects, the president still has the powers, isn't it?
Yes.
Do the procedures that apply in acquiring land that's under the Ministry of Lands, are those procedures also applying if I want to get traditional land? Because you may call me having done an act of illegality in acquiring this land. I'm thinking in the city of Lusaka and all these that falls within the application processes under Ministry of Lands. If I were to go to my village, do I still have to follow the procedure as going to the Ministry of Lands to get the title?
Well,
And will I be called illegal?
the word illegal indeed. What I want to say is that yes, the law recognizes holding of land in whichever way between customary and state. Now, the procedure of acquisition under customary is different when you compare it to state. Because under customary, you involve the traditional leadership, and the traditional leadership processes documents that are given to you if the idea is to convert that land into state land. You can choose to hold that land customarily without having to come to the Ministry of Lands. It's still recognized under the law. Now, when you choose or you apply to the chief that you want to convert and take it to state land. Then a certain procedure is followed, which requires the chief to give consent, which you bring to the Commission of Lands. But of course, most of the time you go through the councils and all the conversion, Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, all those forms are filled by the chief, and the chief endorses the site plan for the piece of land, for the particular piece of land. All those documents brought the Ministry of Lands, then we convert it and take it into statutory tenure, which means that now we can give you certificate of title. So there is procedure under customary holding where you can choose, you get me right, you can choose to hold it just at that level without having to fill in all those conversion documents, and still be given. There are procedures for each chiefdom. They enter into a register and what, that is your land. And it's recognized under customary tenure. When you choose now to transform, to go to state land, the chief will have to fill in those documents that I've alluded to, and mainly the consent, very important. Now, I want to say this, that the law recognizes the chief and not a village headman. People must understand the difference here. A village headman cannot write a consent letter to have land converted from customary to state land.
Let me bring in the mediators. Somehow you are mediators, isn't it? In these areas where you are operating, with what the director has mentioned, which one gives us more problems in terms of illegality? State land, traditional land?
Thank you so much. Actually, currently we have problems on both state land and customary land. And the problems are on the rise. But I think there are more problems under customary land than on state land because of the aspect of documentation. Like Mr. Taiwa said, when you acquire state land, you have documents that protect you. You have proof of ownership to show that this is actually your land. Under customary tenure, you don't have as much documentation as you do under state land. And so proof of ownership, the issue of boundaries of your land, and a lot more details become complicated. And so it becomes easy for other people to come and claim your land. So we have a lot of illegalities happening at the moment under customary land than we have under state land, but both have problems.
Actually, including issues of inheritance.
Yes.
They are crucial under customary. Usually you find that the owner of the land, the one who acquired it, dies, then the traditional leadership changes, wants to acquire that property and give it to other people. So the security is not properly guaranteed under customary.
From the real estate point of view, I understand that real estate business persons buy a huge chunk of land and then begin to resell. Which one do you deal with? Is it state land or traditional land?
We deal with state land. We avoid traditional land because of the reasons that have already been said by the other panelist here. Because it's difficult for you to do a proper due diligence to know who the owner of the property is. And so, because we buy for resale, we want to pass on clean title. However, we have also experienced, I think, challenges also even in state land, because we are talking about illegality. So I'll give you an example of where we purchased 2 pieces of land in a particular province, and then we find out that later forestry department comes and says, no, this land falls under forestry. Meanwhile, it has title under Ministry of Lands. So the question is, which one do we go with? Mm-hmm. Yes. I think that those are some of the challenges that we've had.
Director should take note of that and give a response. But quickly, I know that you earlier on alluded to the fact that there's no land in Lusaka. Right now, if you go to any particular bare land, the moment you start digging, someone will show up and say, this is my piece of land. They'll probably have title.
Yes.
Now, you will have no choice going forward, I'm thinking. but to get land under customary land for resale. What are some of the issues you would like be addressed if such businesses are to continue?
So one of the issues that I think would love to be addressed, like said, there's really land is running out in Lusaka, and most of the land is falling under traditional tenure or customary tenure. And so we believe that if the government can step in and maybe have a conversation with the Royal Highnesses that are keeping these pieces of land, because what is happening right now, people buy it as traditional land, and then it is not properly regulated, you know, so you find that the land is not properly serviced, so you end up with more shanty. It cannot be planned. Why? Because it's falling under customary tenure. But if the government would maybe have conversations with the Royal Highnesses, and we have some lands that can be converted to state land, it would be easier for us to buy such land and have it properly subjected to the rules and regulations of land holding.
The sensitization that you spoke about, Mr. Msole, people clearly are not aware of how to go about purchasing land. The key thing is for them to know the procedures if illegalities such as these are to be avoided. What do you think government should do?
Thank you so much. As civil society, as non-government organization, we come in to cooperate with government, to supplement government efforts. And like I said, we are only in about 15 districts. Now, government is present everywhere, so government needs to do more to sensitize the communities, citizens about the right ways, first of their land rights, how to acquire this land properly, the laws and policies governing land administration. I think we need to speed up this. The laws are there, the procedures are there, the processes are there, but these have not been communicated to everybody. What we'd like to say as Zambia Land Alliance is to see that we have proper even simplified procedures and the processes that are probably translated into the 7 major languages and distributed so that people are more aware about the right.
When you say you're
land.
assisting government, because as civil society organizations, you are there to build up on where government can end. What else are you doing? The translations, for instance, government could do that. But then again, there should be something that you are also doing to aid government to reach out to the people that needs to be reached with the message.
Yes, we actually are involved. We begin by, I talked about sensitization, but we are involved in policy advocacy. We engage government, parliament, and other stakeholders in coming up with laws and the policies that will protect Zambian, the interests of Zambia when it comes to land. We are very much involved in even urging government to implement existing laws, because we can be focused on coming up with good laws and so forth. What's the point of having good laws if they are not implemented?
What are some of those good laws that we have that you've noted are good but are not being implemented?
Well, I think we have laws around planning. For example, you cannot develop any property without having it planned, without acquiring planning permission and so forth. Right now, we are in a conversation in Lusaka where we have some shops that are built on drainage systems. And the question is, how were these built? Did they acquire planning permission, or there was no planning permission given? Now it becomes an emergency. People have to demolish these things. But in the meantime, the developer says it took 6 months to develop those things. When they were busy developing this wrongly, or as stated by government, where were the authorities? Where was the Ministry of Local Government that are responsible for ensuring that all structures should acquire planning permission? And so we have adequate laws, I believe, to ensure that we have sanity in the development of land or property in the country. The challenge that we have here has to do with implementation of these laws.
Director, come in. Mrs. Arao did mention that sometimes they encounter situations where they are going for this piece of land only to be told there's also someone that claims ownership. And then each party feels they are legitimate because they've got some paper to show. What leads to such incidences?
Well, Yes, such things do happen on the ground. And I would say sometimes it's a clash of the two systems. Because we do have situations, yes, where some people maybe have been given land customary by the traditional leaders, and then somebody else goes there, they pay, they give them the same land. Those are faster in processing the conversion documents. They bring the documents to our place. We process titles. When they go on the ground, the two systems crash. What do I mean? The one who was given customary and never acquired a document with the one who has got a certificate of title. So in such situations, yes, you will see that there are a number of crashes on the ground. But I think as a ministry, we are working hard with the introduction of the new system now. We hope to make sure that such conflicts are minimized. Issues of double allocation are minimized because of the digitization of the records.
I've noted that the minister is on the ground and she's moving around to attend to some of these
Yes.
issues. Most recently in Lusaka, and she moved into Ndola.
Yeah, we're
Copperbelt.
together on the Copperbelt.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The real estate business persons, you are often accused of bringing acrimony, especially to the people that want to acquire land. You put up an advert, cheap land in this particular location, only to go there and there's no paper for the people that purchase land. This has created a lot of mistrust for those that want to purchase land. How are you ensuring that the Zambians are not taken advantage of, and indeed they are helped to follow the due process of the law so that the paper that they need from the Ministry of Lands is available through you as business persons?
Okay. So like I said earlier on, our business in particular, we don't deal with customary land. We ensure that we deal with property that is titled. And one of the things that we assist our clients with is to ensure that they get certificate of title, because the challenges that when we came on the scene, we found that the challenges people had is that they could not easily access land which was titled and ensure that they got certificate of title. So we help them by getting the certificates of titles. However, the challenge we have is the Ministry of Lands. They take too long sometimes to issue titles.
Do they?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes, to issue titles. It has been our experience.
Director is here.
Yes, the director is here. So our clients would be complaining, you see, because when we sell, we would be very when you are marketing and say, oh, we'll give you titles very soon. But then when we go to Ministry of Lands, no, there's a backlog. No, we have introduced a new system. There's a back and forth. That has been one of the challenges that we faced. However, our intentions as a business is to try and remove as much as possible illegal land allocation by giving land that is credible. Yeah.
Okay. So yours, before you begin to resell, you will have done the process through the ministry.
Yes, we do. We vet, our land is properly vetted. We'll have made applications for subdivisions. If the land is zoned as maybe agriculture, we'll have to make an application for it to be rezoned. Change of land use as residential, and we ensure that we give title. Most of our clients know that we ensure that our clients will get titles, properly issued title from the council. The council is involved and the Ministry of Lands is involved.
Let's get back at it, Director. How long would it take if I applied for my land ownership title, if I call it that? How long would it take for me to get the document?
Well, before I go into how long, I want to say that the processing of title deeds is a concerted effort between the person who has been allocated land and the ministry. I want to mention that the starting point in our process is to give you an ITT, which you must pay for. If you don't respond by paying, it will derail you. So you pay, we give you the offer, letter of offer. you need again to bring the survey diagrams. And the survey responsibility is on the offeree, on the landowner, and not the ministry. You can choose to engage the Surveyor General's office to do the survey, or you can engage private surveyors to do the same survey and still get the diagrams. So if you don't bring the diagrams, we don't move until you bring the diagrams. Once you bring all the documentations are in place, the process now is online. You don't need to even come to our office. We'll just be exchanging documents online. Where I am here, when I get to the office, I should be able to sign documents, leases, offers, and issue them. They go direct online to the client. This is why when you come to the ministry now, you don't see those queues, because we are working just in the offices and documents are going online.
Not knowing how long that system has been going on. Here's a situation that I'm preview of.
Yes.
A group of persons in the compound, they had moved in, bought land on the land that's called under tradition, but it's within Lusaka.
Yes.
But then again, they were promised to say there's going to be subdivisions. Paperwork was done, and then people started going to the Ministry of Lands to try and push for the process. And then they are told, just hang on, an officer will be sent to you to do the capturing of the people and the area. A process which took place. And then they begin to wait. Is that process part of that system?
Thank you for that question, and I want to have seen that you have delved into the other process.
Mix it.
Yes.
For our understanding, comprehensive.
For the process that, first of all, I want to mention that the ministry right now is running two systems. What is called sporadic titling, which we usually do through Ministry HQ, and what is called the systematic titling. Now, under systematic titling, that is where there is the capturing of individuals, the way you have said.
Okay.
The ministry contracted a company called Medici Land Governance, and those have been going around to issue titles using that system you have mentioned. A demarcation area is found, cleared by the ministry, and they move in to give titles to those individuals. This includes areas like under the, what do you call these, Statutory Improvement Areas Act, under the council, like those places where councils were holding title. You can mention places, maybe if you say Kamanga, if you say Ballaston, such areas. So we have a system that is doing that. So if it takes a bit long under that system, maybe it's the issue of the processes of clearing the area. Because like Mrs. Arawa mentioned, we don't want to go into that area and found, like in certain places, there are legacy titles. You find that you have found a demarcation area, and then you find a very old title that is existing. Here in Lusaka, they are very prevalent. That is existing for a white person who held it, who acquired it some time back. And now we need to deal with that title before we proceed to issue them with titles. So sometimes we face those obstacles. It doesn't mean that we are delaying deliberately. They can be captured while we are doing the background check and the clearance of that title, so that when we issue those titles to these occupants or to these landowners, there will be clean title without controversy. Yes.
As Land Alliance, in those areas where you are operating, how do you work closely with the ministry and other relevant authorities to ensure that illegality is a thing of the past?
Yeah, we have close collaboration with the Ministry of Lands, and in fact the other line ministries that are related to land, Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, and all of those that have to do with land. We do collaborate because we have something of mutual interest, which is land. And so from the national perspective, we sit on a number of committees, government committees, where we provide our input and our advice, but we also do collaborate in the areas of sensitization. When it comes to advocacy processes, we do engage with government through parliamentary submissions, We also when we feel that we have something more pressing, we actually go to the ministry and make our submission that this is what we'd like to see.
You believe that every person has the right to own land in the country?
Absolutely.
Are you seeing that interest from the Zambians? And do you think land for real is a right for every Zambian to own?
Yes, land is a right for every Zambian to own, and the interest is rising of late. Of course, when you go in the rural areas, people haven't seen this need for land, and so the demand for land is quite low in the rural areas, but in the urban areas, there's very, very high demand. And so the work is still, the more sensitization needs to be made so that Zambians can own land in their name. Yeah.
Illegality is perpetrated in certain instances because maybe the land is expensive in certain areas. Do you think it is so?
Yes and no. Yes, it is expensive in certain areas because I think, like I said earlier on, there's been scarcity of land. And so
only in the capital city?
Yes, in
people
the
want
capital
to just
city, yeah.
buy land in inland and not outside.
Yes, so people are looking for land in the capital city, especially near the CBD, it's quite expensive.
And only because you as well, you are not interested in land on the outskirts because you fear traditions will catch up with you. And so you are pushing everyone inland.
We are trying to protect the interest of our clients, actually, of the many Zambians that believe in us. Yeah. Okay. So that is what has made land. I think it's the issue of scarcity, and also sometimes just fraudsters taking advantage of the fact that land is expensive, and so they would offer people to say, okay, we have land that is going at maybe half the price or a quarter price of what the actual land they are selling, we are able to sell to you. But sooner or later you discover that that land does not actually belong to them, or maybe they just took over this land as a community. I think we've seen this a lot in Lusaka.
I can imagine there should be a lot of cases on your table, Director, where someone comes to complain, I bought this land, and then somebody claims they have it, and another person came and bought the same. Do we have enough officers under the ministry to point to the people to say, maybe don't fight for land inland? Go there. There is clean, it's okay. Go that side, or we will point you to there. We want the city, the country to develop in all angles.
Yes, we do. But as my colleague has mentioned here, I think if you look at most of these fraud issues to do with land, they are predominantly urban. They are predominantly urban, and Lusaka, particularly, and Cowabello to some extent, because I could see the last time we were visiting Cowabello with the Honorable Minister, there are a number of issues around land. And even there, it's land that is closer to the town center. You see? But you see, I want to say this, that members of the public should not fall prey to issues of being swindled when the ministry is there, when organizations such as Land Alliance are there. Certain citizens shun to go there and think, unless they came to the ministry. People with knowledge over land matters and land acquisition are there. But the Ministry of Lands is there to help all citizens. We are represented in all the 10 provinces. And now, there is even now online, you can inquire online. And I want to say this, that buying of land has got procedure. And you see, the starting point is that you come to the ministry, especially if that property is on title, you come to the ministry, we vet the title, we clear you, we clear the land. You apply for the consent, Commission of Lands grants you consent. At the point of giving you consent, we vet and we ensure that you are buying clean land.
What I'm getting from your explanation, Director, is that at whatever point someone gets up to go and buy land, whether it's advertised or not advertised, they should inquire from the ministry?
Yes, they should.
I shouldn't trust her poster that there's land for sale here.
Well, you can trust them, but there's no really.
Guarantee.
No. I don't want to talk about that. There's no harm. There's no harm. There's no harm in inquiring further.
I say so because most of the people that move into rural areas even, or near town, they will just be told there's land for sale here, and somebody will just move in. Oh, how much? How many meters? And that's it. The transaction goes. Tomorrow, they begin to offload sand and putting up a structure.
There is no harm in inquiring because what they do is approved by the ministry. Because we number those properties. They will not sell a piece of land which is unnumbered. They will bring the site plan. They will plan the area for us to number. When we number, that's when now they go and allocate numbers to those people who buy. So at the center of all this, the Minister of Lands presides.
I think maybe to add to what he's saying, I think is that people should be able to do a due diligence, which most people avoid. So usually people just go into this gentleman agreement, land, I think it should be something you should buy with a lot of caution. Yeah, there should be a lot of caution. You should be able to verify the ownership of the person that tells you I am selling. That includes, it does not matter that the person has presented their NRC, because we've had several instances of that where people come up with NRCs, they have forged title, they have forged NRCs.
And they apply for duplicate.
Yes, they'll apply for duplicate. And that is why personally where I stand is that I prefer that when people are buying land, they should be able to engage a lawyer or go to Ministry of Lands and ensure that they have done a proper due diligence to understand.
You mentioned a lawyer.
Yes, please.
Someone in the compound cannot afford a lawyer. That's the perception. So we'll just look at the land. Neighbors confirm, yes, it's genuine land, and proceed. And yet it could be something that's not straight.
The goodness with conveyancing, which is the sale of land, is that you pay only a percentage of what you are buying. You see, so it's not really about the expense, because if you are going to be buying something at 5,000 kwacha, obviously it means that your 10% would be like 500 kwacha, and the higher the amount, the lower the percentage. But that would have helped you mitigate a lot of risks of you losing the 5,000 kwacha completely. So the due diligence, I think that people should engage lawyers. Just yesterday or this morning, I heard somebody that I know that lost money because they just went into this, they saw land advertised on Facebook, they got a number, spoke, and then they even paid the deposit into the bank. As they were paying, the next thing, the number for that person is not reachable. So people should be very careful. They should do a due diligence on the vendor. If it's a real estate business, do a due diligence on that company. How long has it been in existence? Who are the people that are behind it? I think that would be very helpful.
True. Today, land has become very highly pressured. Whether it's rural or urban, we are beginning to see their Royal Highnesses, the headmen, headwomen, treasure land so much. If you want to go in there and get just a small piece of land for just farming, they'll look at amounts and you know that, okay, they know what they're talking about. Do they have such information, especially in the rural areas, that they need to know the connections between them, the ministry, and just the proper channels to be followed?
Unfortunately, Asami, they don't. And so we have a challenge where even some of our land administrators under customary tenure, we're talking about the chiefs, we're talking about the head persons, are not very well informed. And so in the process of allocating land, they also perpetrate illegalities. For example, we have guidelines as to how much land a chief can give. We have seen chiefs giving way beyond their legal limit of land to land seekers. We have seen traditional leaders, head persons, and chiefs selling land sometimes at the expense of their subjects and displacing their subjects. So even our land administrators under customary tenure need to be informed. They need to be sensitized so that they can administer this land and allocate it properly in accordance with the provisions of the
When you sit down with their Royal Highnesses, do they buy into the conversation?
Oh, they do. They do, and the interest is quite great. I must say that as Zambia Land Alliance, we have a good relationship with our traditional leaders, with our chiefs, and we do have engagements with them through the House of Chiefs, through the provincial chiefs committees, and even at individual level. And they do listen to us, and I believe they trust us.
Have you ever tried to enter into any traditional land and try to speak with their Royal Highnesses to see if at all they could buy into your line of business?
No, we've never attempted.
You fear them from afar?
We've never really attempted. I think our fear has been, especially what happens with land within Lusaka, which is customary land. You find that if you try to buy, there are 3-4 people. So we've never really tried to, because of that fear. But I think it is something that should be. Yeah.
How do you think you come in to bridge the gap and try to lessen cases of illegality? That is when you are given such authority.
When we are given authority
to move into an area and get this piece of land and then begin to resell to people. How do you think you bridge that gap and bring in sanity?
Okay, so we bridge in by ensuring that that the land is properly planned. So if we are doing a big area, maybe like 1,000 plots, we ensure that there is a provision for police, school. We ensure that it's properly planned by proper planners. And then ensure that the services that should be provided for, there's an agreement to have those services provided for, like road, like water, like sewage. How would you, because the many numbers of plots cause for you to take care of those things. And I think in the process that has really helped reduce the illegalities.
Great. Yeah. Director, I want to assume that when people see a flyer or a poster on Facebook, an incident she has just referred to here, where one just picks up a Facebook contact and begin to call someone, because these graphics are done so well, and so you tend to trust something that looks so lucrative and attractive by design. Are all these property advertisers or dealers known by your office? And how do I identify these ones are genuine?
Well, you see, property owners are free to advertise land for sale. And we cannot know all these property owners. But once you have got title to your property, you can advertise it through any form of media. But what I want to bring to the citizens' attention is that while all these adverts are going on, whether by Facebook or by print media or by television, you do due diligence before you purchase. Come to the ministry, ask us. We are there to assist. We have got customer service center there where you can come and ask. If you are not satisfied, you climb up to my office, commissioner's office. Everybody there is ready to help. You see, we do face situations, and several situations, where citizens have gone into private transactions, buying and selling of land, which is allowed. But at the end of the day, when they face or they are swindled, they now at that point want to involve the ministry, which they never involved in the first place, to seek information, to seek clearance, so that they do the right thing. They get land which is without problems. So to reduce on the number of those complaints we have, where people want now to involve us in a private transactions, and now how to come in becomes very, very problematic by the ministry. So we want to tell all those purchasing land that don't fall prey to be swindled.
Great.
There are fraudsters there.
He has given a warning.
Yes.
What warning would you give in the same line within the area of your work?
Yeah, but maybe just to add to the question that you asked to Mr. Chaiwa, if there is an advert from a real estate agent, you can actually conduct due diligence on two levels. One, to find out whether that real estate is really registered by Zambia Institute of Estate Agents. There is an institute that oversees these people or these businesses. And even if they are actually registered with Zambia Institute of Estate Agents, you also still need to conduct due diligence on the actual land in question, because it might be a genuine business, but the land they're advertising may not actually be genuine.
Your warning?
I think for me, my warning would be that people should only buy land that they have conducted proper due diligence on, or at least engage a lawyer. It may look expensive, but it's cheaper in the process.
Who are being tubed mostly? Women, men?
Who are?
Land?
Yes, I think we encourage women to own land in their names, because we know that most of the land is predominantly owned by men, but women equally have the right. So we encourage women to acquire land in their name, both under state land and customary land. We are passionate about encouraging women land ownership.
Great. Director, confirm your ministry, you have an open door policy.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Okay.
The same way I've come here, showing open door policy, the same way people would come there and see me.
Mrs. Arawa is attesting to that fact.
But I want to comment on the issue where you are saying who is being swindled most. It's the men, because most of the land purchasers are men. Because most of the people with the income,
and that tells us that they do
Yes.
not have the know-how
Yes.
on how to go about illegal land.
or they're just lazy to visit such offices as mine. It doesn't pay for you to lose a lot of money because you simply fail to reach the Minister of Lands. You see? Or the council, indeed. If you are not satisfied with the council, you come to the ministry. Yes. Because at the end of the day, the government institution with a mandate on land allocation, even the issues of conveyancing, you certainly have to bring it to the Minister of Lands. If you are buying titled land, you certainly have to bring it to the Minister of Lands for land and deeds, the chief registrar, to change ownership into your name.
Great. Director, thank you so much for shedding more light on how land can be acquired rightly in the country.
Thank you very much.
That's Director Crispin Chaiwa, Director Lands, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. He was accompanied by Mrs. Mary Harawa Mulenga, proprietor, Palm Ridge Properties, and Mr. Patrick Musole, Zambia Land Alliance Executive Director. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
That's Checkpoint. My name is Samuel Machishi. Thank you for joining us.